Hello, and welcome to the Coach Right podcast, where we explore how to turn coaching expertise into published pages. I'm your host, Helen O'Neill, portfolio career specialist, accredited future of work coach, author and creator of Coach Right Writing, the writing program specifically designed for coaches. You can get the episode show notes and your free guide to publishing options at coachright.co.uk. It's time for the next chapter. Welcome to the Coach Right podcast. I'm your host, Helen O'Neill, recording on Saturday, the 14th of March, 2026, and this is episode 17. My guest today is Claire Turner. She works with business owners to overcome internal blockers using EFT or tapping, which is absolutely fascinating. And we have a brilliant conversation about the techniques and the 2 books that she's written on the subject. Thank you to those of you that reached out after Catherine Sir John Brooks' episode on internal coaching. What really resonated was the conversation that we'd had about writing spaces. Now, Catherine has written in some very glamorous and trendy places in London and France. But please do remember, when you're thinking about having a space to write, it can literally be a different time of day or a different desk at home or in the library or your favourite coffee shop. Knowing when you need the muse to turn up and where is key to avoiding the dreaded writer's block, which we all know is actually procrastination in disguise. It's why I created Scribe Circle as part of Coach Right 90. We come together 3 mornings a week in a virtual sprint room. Cameras stay on, mics go off, words get written. The doors open for the next cohort on the 20th of May. So if you're keen to turn your coaching expertise into published pages, please do come along and join us. I'll make sure the links for that are in the show notes. In writing news, I have finished structural editing. Hurrah! The Resilience book is now sitting at around 65,000 words, and I have been copy editing for the last week and a half. Now, to do that, I use a tool called Pro Writing Aid. This is a plugin that underlines all of the things that need attention. So it will look at commas, capitalization, in voice, and there are a whole wealth of reports in there, things like overused words. When I started the copy edit, there were over 4,000 suggestions, which isn't daunting at all. I'm now about halfway through, and once this is done, I'll do another pass using the read aloud function to catch anything else. I will sort out all the references and citations, which sounds really easy when you say it like that, but actually takes forever. And then I will send it over to my human editor. The end is in sight. If you're listening to this in real time, then I am currently at the Irish Publishing Show. I absolutely love in-person events, and I'll be sharing all my learnings in the next mini-sode at the end of April. But with conference season well underway, I'm always reminded about how daunting it can be the first time. Personally, I can do a large event, but I do tend to prefer the slightly smaller ones. I value quality connections over quantity. I don't need to fill my LinkedIn with more connections that I don't really know who those people are. What I'd rather do is fill my well by connecting with a handful of people that really align with the direction that I'm going in. I decided not to go to London Book Fair this year, which took place last week. And it's often the conference that people ask about because it's the one we're familiar with in the UK. It's heavily weighted towards traditional publishing. So what that tends to mean is that from an educational perspective, it's a little bit behind the narrative on some of the cutting edge tools and techniques that are being spearheaded in the independent author space. If you are seeking a traditional publishing deal and you have set up a meeting in advance, it can absolutely be worth doing. And I definitely think there is something energizing in being in a room with lots of other authors. However, the space is simply huge. And so the serendipitous moments of networking are harder to come by. You need to be much more intentional about the people that you're going to meet and set that up in advance. If you've never been to an in-person writing conference before, it's always worth thinking about what you want to achieve. I know that while I'm at the Irish Publishing Show, there are going to be lots of conversations about things I'm going to get very excited about but don't need just now. So if I think in terms of what my priorities are from an author perspective, I want to finish my book, I want to sell more books, I want to do the audio of the Resilience book, and then I want to do translation. And all of those things want to happen in that order. So I will get very, very excited about automation, and I will get very, very excited about translation. But that information isn't information I need just now. So I want to know that it's there. I want to be part of the conversation, and then I want to put it aside so I can focus on delivering what I need to deliver to get the book over the line. If you are thinking about going to a conference for the first time, do think about what you want to achieve. I know they can feel daunting when you've never been before, particularly if you're considering going on your own, but they're definitely worth it in terms of learning, connection, and energy. Regardless of whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, please do bear in mind that you are going to need to manage your energy levels. London Book Fair, for example, is absolutely huge and gives me sensory overload. So if you're somebody that impacts, consider taking earplugs and how you might decompress. Make sure you wear comfortable shoes. There's a lot of standing, there's a lot of walking. So please make sure to engage your inner adult and dress appropriately. Similarly, think about what you're eating and drinking. It's quite easy, particularly for a multi-day event, to live on caffeine, sugar, alcohol, and carbohydrates, which probably doesn't help those energy levels. They're not very exciting, but hydration and a little bit of fruit and veg does everybody the world of good. Consider how you're going to factor in getting outside during the conference. I'm here in Ireland for 3 days and I'm staying at the event location. It would be very easy to stay inside for those 3 days, particularly as the forecast said, it's going to be quite cold and raining. But I know that it's really important to get some fresh air and go for a walk. It doesn't have to be long, but it's a brilliant way to reach. And on the note about accommodation, if you are staying overnight, think about where you want to stay. Obviously, you want to stay somewhere comfortable, but how close to the venue is good for you. Maybe you need a little bit of distance so that you've got a natural break at the beginning and the end of each day. Or maybe you're somebody that needs a bolt hole for partway through the day so you can go back and decompress, have a nap, or just some quiet time. If you plan to attend alone, and that in itself feels daunting, find a friend before you go. All of these events have Facebook pages or some sort of networking facilitation provided ahead of time, or you could simply put a post on LinkedIn to say that you're going to be there and ask if anyone else is attending. You can set up a quick Teams chat before the event or exchange phone numbers so that you can meet up on the day. Just remember, if you do decide to buddy up, make sure that the two of you spend time speaking to other people as well. And then the last thing to do is something we often forget, is preparing our elevator pitch. Everybody at the conference you're attending has something in common. They're interested in the topics that are being discussed at the conference. So prepare how you're going to introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Helen. I write non-fiction personal development books that support the clients I work with in my coaching practice. I also write mystery fiction, just for fun. And then ask them what they write. There's the conversation started. In AI news, there's been a significant standoff between the US government and Anthropic, the company behind Claude, regarding the Pentagon contract. Anthropic have refused to sign the contract because of 2 clauses. The first, they have said that they would like Claude not to be used for mass domestic surveillance. The second is for the tool to be not to be used to power fully autonomous weapons. There has been a lot of conversation about this in the technology press. And I have to be honest, as I read those two restrictions, they don't sound unreasonable to me. So while we're all busy debating the ethics of using AI in our coaching practice, I think it's really important to remember that we stay educated about the source of these tools and the ethics within those organizations themselves. So if you're using a model that doesn't align with your values, what does that mean about you as a coach? And if you don't know, that's not an excuse. It's a challenging question, and it's something to think about. Values misalignment has come up quite a lot in conversation over the past couple of weeks. It's such an important driver for career change. And of course, as we've said many times before, the way we work has and is changing. It's one of the reasons I'm such an advocate for multiple streams of income and financial education. So we're not dependent when a misalignment happens. As coaches, we quite often have portfolio careers. Authors certainly do. So maybe it's time we normalise this way of working and start thinking about it strategically. Anyway, that's enough from me. It's time for the interview with Claire and the next chapter. Welcome to the Coach Right podcast. My guest today is Claire Turner. Using EFT, nervous system work, and identity recalibration, Claire works with business owners who look successful on the outside, but still manage self-doubt and imposter syndrome. I'm sure many of us can relate to that. She's the founder of Abundance Alchemy and the author of Tapping Scripts for Entrepreneurs. Welcome to the show, Claire.
Hello, Helen, love. Nice to see you again.
Brilliant to see you. Thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure.
If we can start by telling us all about you and your path to publication.
Oh, my favourite subjects, me. So I started, I don't know how far back you want me to go, but I'm going to give you the abridged notes version. I started life in corporate. I was in corporate for about one company for about 15 years and kind of worked my way up through the ranks, not because I was particularly talented, but simply because I'd hung around for so long and things tend to float to the surface. I hadn't realised until my other half pointed it out just how stressed I was getting in that environment. And my other half's a chiropractor, and he's very much into the holistic side, which I'd never really experienced before. And I remember one day just him coming up to me and saying, do you know how stressed you are? These days he'd say, you're being a grumpy bitch, get over it. But he knew, honeymoon period. And I didn't, because I was waking up in the morning stressed. I was going to work stressed. I went to bed stressed. It was like a fish swimming around in water. I didn't realise I was swimming around in it. And he introduced me to a chap called Brad Yates on YouTube. I'm just going to touch on the EFT side briefly. And he said, watch this, it will really help. And I can remember watching an introduction to EFT video and thinking, what a load of bollocks. And I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. It looked bollocks because it involves tapping with your fingers on specific acupressure points on your face and torso. So it did look really frigging weird. But I started doing it at lunchtimes in my car, and I went back into work a completely different person, much calmer, much more approachable, more friendly, less stressed, less reactive to stuff. What I didn't realize is that EFT also is quite sneaky, and behind the scenes, it was working on all the fears I had about myself. I'm not good enough. I can't do anything else. I won't get paid this much money anywhere else. I can't leave. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a fraud, all that jazz. And very quickly after starting tapping, things just shifted. And I ended up in working for a chiropractic association. And from there, I very quickly decided that I didn't want to work for anyone. I wanted my own business. For some unknown reason, I landed on a cleaning company, which my friends were like, are you sure? Because I fucking hate cleaning, but I love the business side of it.
Okay.
Had a slight nervous breakdown with that because it was so out of alignment with what I did. And as I was having that slight nervous breakdown, I was looking around for something else to do. And I stumbled across training for EFT. I had no idea you could do it as a profession, even though I've been watching Brad Yates on YouTube for years. So I went into that. And I very quickly realized that starting your own business and running your own business is completely different to working an employed job. And so my first book which was tapping into your happy, kind of came out of the fact that I was beginning to notice a lot of other stressed and unhappy people, just generally. I wasn't particularly looking at businesses back then, but just a lot of people weren't happy and they didn't know how to be happy, which sounds like a ridiculous thing to say. And kind of more than that, they were searching for how to be happy, which just reinforced the idea that they didn't have it. So how to tap into your happy was a kind of instruction manual, I suppose, on this is what I do, try it on, see how it works for you. And it included things like tapping, it included things like gratitude, and other stuff.
Nice.
It's like it's a 21-day journal where you could test this for 21 days, and then after 21 days, just pick what works best for you and run with it. Then I started working more and more with business owners and other entrepreneurs, specifically chiropractors, simply because I was in that area. Going through it myself and seeing it on other people, I was noticing themes cropping up again and again and again. Self-doubt, money worries, sales worries, public speaking worries, and just the term imposter syndrome got bandied around quite a lot. And so I thought it might be quite a good idea if I compiled a bunch of tapping scripts that could help people overcome the everyday concerns, not necessarily solving all their problems, but just reducing the stress and anxiety enough for them to be able to take action, because that's what EFT does. As you tap those acupressure points, it sends a calming signal to your amygdala, the stress response center of your brain, and it effectively turns it off. And so you can use EFT in the moment of fear, worry, anxiety, self-doubt, and you can reduce it. You don't have to, reduce it a lot. Just a little bit is enough for you then to be able to take action. And to give an example of that hasn't been asked for, but I'm going to give it anyway.
No, please do, because I'm sure there are people listening that are thinking, I've never heard of EFT before. I'm not really sure what tapping is. Helen normally goes on to the bit where we talk about how the book came about, but actually what I really want to know is, what is this secret sauce? Like, what has Claire uncovered through personal experience and then professional training that she's bringing to our sector? So yeah, I'd love to know a bit more.
Thank you for bringing me back to track.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So the example that I always come back to, and I've had many since, but this is a particularly powerful one, is I ran an online workshop on how to easily and effectively manage stress. And I had like 50 odd people turn up. And I would contact people post-workshop just to see how they got on, if they had any questions. But I had a thing about phoning people. So I didn't do it. I employed a lady to do it for me. She was rudely on holiday when I ran. I know.
Who signed that off?
Time off, I don't know. So I was like, shit, I'm going to have to ring these people. And it was going to be on a Saturday because the workshop was a Friday. And I could hear myself starting to talk myself out of it. The sort of dialogue you have in your head with your inner voice. And it's like, well, it's a Saturday morning. You're going to be disturbing them. That's really rude. They're not going to welcome. They've been working all week. This is their time off. There's a lot of them. There's 50 odd people. That's going to take forever. Why don't we just text them? Or, even better, blind copy email. So fast. I was like, oh, okay. And I was a gnat's penis away from totally bottling out of it and doing the blind copy email. And I was like, fuck it. And I busted out. I think it was like between 60 and 90 seconds of tapping. I literally just tapped through the points going, shit. I don't want to do it. They're going to hate me. Please don't make me do it. I don't want to phone people. It's going to be awful. I don't want to do it. And between 60 and 90 seconds, my inner voice changed from, I don't want to do it, to just pick up the phone. And at that point, I picked up the phone and phoned the first person. And that first call alone ended up in a 2K sale.
Amazing.
If I hadn't done the tapping, definitely would have wimped out of it. So I wanted people to have access to that, just to be able to get over that little bump that was preventing them from moving forward with their business and achieving what they want to achieve. Now, EFT does go an awful lot deeper. I don't know how much you want to talk about that and how much you want to talk about the book. because it's amazing at reducing emotion very, very fast. It's phenomenal and there's been studies, it's an evidence-based technique. There's been studies around the level of how it impacts the level of cortisol, one of the stress hormones, reduces it phenomenally, impacts the adrenaline in your bloodstream after like 10 minutes. So from a physiological point of view, it's very powerful and it can really reduce that emotion fast. But it also can find and release the memories that are causing you to have the stress in the first place. Not necessarily the memories, but the emotion attached to the memories. So if you think of your brain like a biocomputer, and inside our biocomputer brain, we have little electronic folders. And a folder is created when we have a surge of emotion. Because essentially, if you have an emotional reaction, your brain goes, "Oh, something important is happening. Quick, create an electronic folder," and it puts the emotion inside. So the example I often give is if we got a kiddie at school and they have to give a presentation to the class. Maybe they stumble over their words, they get something wrong, the class laughs at them, the teacher maybe says something a bit derogatory. And in that moment, our kiddie's going to feel a surge of emotion, probably shame, embarrassment, humiliation, maybe even anger. Brain creates the electronic folder. Those emotions go inside. He's also going to have a physiological response. He's probably flushing, feeling shaky, sweaty, sick. They go in the folder. His brain is going to take a snapshot or a movie of what's happening. And because there's laughter in this memory, there's probably a soundtrack to go with whatever picture or image is going in. And then he's going to make a decision about himself or about the world in general. And in this example, it's probably something on the lines of public speaking isn't safe, or I'm no good at public speaking, which is bonkers because we all love public speaking.
Oh, don't be just.
And then that goes in the folder. And I don't know about you, Helen. I love to be right. I will go out of my way to defend my decisions and prove that I am right. And that's what our brains do. You then have a bias towards seeing things and experiencing things that prove that what you decided was the right decision. And if you find enough of those, or if you hear something from someone in authority, often enough, that decision turns into a belief. And beliefs are very powerful. People will die for their beliefs, they'll kill for them, but they are, at the end of the day, beliefs. They're not truths. And they form our perspective of the world. We start to look out through the world through a lens of who we think we are based on and which drives the beliefs we have. So if we now imagine our kiddie all grown up and he's got a job or he's got his own business, and even if he's got a job, his boss comes up to him and says, "Oh, there's an amazing chance for a promotion."
Opportunity, I believe managers call this. "I've got an opportunity for you."
Yeah, you'll be fantastic at it. It's more money, it's less hours, it's the Bahamas. And I've got kiddies like, "Oh my God, that's amazing. How do I get promotion? So how do I take advantage of this opportunity?" And his boss says, "It's really, really simple. All you have to do is give a presentation." And as soon as those words leave the boss's mouth, our grown-up kiddie's brain goes, "Hang on, we've been there before." And it'll go rifling through the folders, it will find the relevant one, and it will press play. Even if our grown-up kid doesn't remember the actual event, his body's going to react the same way. He's going to get the same emotions unleashed. And his inner voice is going to say something on the lines of, "Shit, I'm no good at public speaking." And then one of two things happen. He either goes for it, but he's so nervous, he completely fucks it up, doesn't get promotion. Or he just goes, "Do you know what, I can't." And he doesn't get the promotion. And that's how what we believe can really impact our success and what we achieve in our life. And then EFT is a bit like running a virus scanner through your computer brain. It finds the relevant folders and it plucks the emotion out. As soon as you no longer have an emotional attachment, your brain goes, "Not as important as I first thought. Fine, carry on." So I'm not saying you release that, you don't necessarily don't forget the memory, but when you think of the memory, you don't get that sort of, physiological and emotional response that you might have had in the past. And then it just makes everything so much easier to do. Like the example I gave, I didn't want to do it. A few seconds of tapping, I picked up the phone. Was I totally confident? No, but I removed the block to taking the action.
Yeah. And so often I hear this from people that have written a book, in that they have had a lived experience, they've found a solution to a problem that they've had, they've trained in that solution because it's been so impactful on them, and then they've thought, "I know what I should do. I'm going to write a book about that."
Yeah.
So how did you go from the I've now trained, I am now supporting people in this quite deep psychological work into translating that into not just one book, but
Yeah. So the first one, how to tap into your happy. I had no idea how to do it or what I was going to do, but it was something, you know, when someone says, oh, it just flowed through me, and you're like, oh, fuck off. It did just.
no. So you've had to eat those words.
So, also, EFT, for anyone who doesn't know, it's often called tapping because it involves tapping with your fingers on your face and torso, just to clarify that. But yeah, I just wanted, because I just won a happiness challenge. Which,
I love a happiness challenge. What's a happiness challenge?
A happiness challenge. It was a free event that I did, and it impacted so many people, and it was so fun. I thought, you know what, let's take this and chuck it into a book. And I didn't really know what I was doing, but I kind of thought I probably need to know what the chapters are going to be, what I'm going to write about. And then, do you know what? Let's just write they're going to be fairly short chapters. It's just a bit about me, a bit about how to do EFT, and then a bit about how to do the things that can help improve your energy and your happiness. And then I just sat down and did like a chapter a day. I knocked this book out I think I started it in December, and it was on Amazon by January.
Wow.
Maybe February, with all the farting around with the guy on Fiverr to get it onto Amazon and do the book cover and stuff like that. But it was actually really, really quick. And then with the second book, Tapping Scripts for Entrepreneurs, it's like I already had the intro to me. I already had the information on EFT from the previous book. And it's kind of, this isn't necessarily like a book on how to do EFT. I just literally want to give people tapping scripts that they can use, because one of the biggest worries that I've noticed people have when they start using EFT is, what do I say? Because when you're tapping on these acupressure points, and you're saying stuff. When you are tapping for an emotion, the reality is you don't actually have to say anything at all. Because the words you use are designed to bring up whatever it is that's causing you the bother, so you can release it. So people can get a bit worried when they first start doing tapping or EFT, because we use I guess you could call them negative affirmations.
Yeah.
You hit the bad thing, in inverted commas, first. And so people get worried that they're tapping in negativity. But the reality is, as Louise Hay very famously once said, honey, to clean your house, you have to see the dirt. So that's what we do. We hit the negative, so we can just bring it up, have a look at it. And then once you do that, it starts to release, because you're not hiding, pushing it down, or resisting it anymore. And then for when you're working on a belief, that's when the words become a bit more important, because you want to bring up the memory, you want to talk about it specifically. And when people work with me, that's why I ask the questions that get them thinking, that people often avoid. That's really all I do, is I ask questions and make people cry, apparently. A gift. I can see you holding back the tears, Helen, already.
I know. It's the unsung skill of the coach, isn't it? Unfortunately, when you do ask the questions, it does unlock the emotions sometimes.
And this is what people often experience when they first start EFT, because emotions have been bottled up for so long, or memories have been suppressed for so long. Not because people are bad or stupid, but simply, why would you want to feel the thing that hurts you?
Yeah.
So we push it down. When you start to do EFT, it starts to release that, and you're going to get some tears as a result of that. It's absolutely fine. But I thought, you know what, this seems to be the big thing that people are concerned about. So let's do tapping scripts.
That's amazing. And you sort of almost glossed over the production side of the work. You're like, I just found a guy on Fiverr, did Fiverr. How did you, in either book, how did you go from having words, a collection of scripts, a structure of a book, to a finished product that could go onto
It was very technical, Helen. It's very highbrow.
Oh, I love technical highbrow.
Then you're going to be disappointed. I went, 5. I thought, I know you're supposed to get a book published through a publishing house. That seems to be what people want to do, and I'm sure that's wonderful. I just wanted to get something out there that people could use. as fast as possible. So I went onto Fiverr, uh, and I found a guy who would get your book onto Amazon. Is it KDP, or it
Yep.
used to be KDP?
Kindle Direct Publishing.
Yeah, and then I found another guy who would do a book cover, and then I just gave him money, and that was
Yep.
it. I'd been talking to, I can't remember if it was my other half had a book published before I did. I think he actually went through a publisher, but then he went to put it on Amazon
Mm.
himself, and it was a complete pain in the arse. It was so confusing. So I was like, I don't want to do it myself. I'll just find someone who can do
Yeah.
it for me. And that worked out okay.
No, so,
Is it the best it could be with all the right search words? I don't know, probably not. But I
well,
didn't. I wanted it. I wanted something as a lead magnet, and I wanted something that I could get out as quick as possible, just so people could use it.
absolutely. And you, so for coaches listening that run their own practice and are looking to build their newsletter list or their top of their funnel, a book can obviously be a brilliant way of doing that. And you've just touched on that. So you use your first book in that way, don't you?
Yeah. So I was kind of inspired to do that. I mean, you hear it a lot when you go on socials anyway about
Mm.
using a book for a lead magnet. But we were also part, because we had a chiropractic practice down in Crawley at that time, and we were part of a big chiropractic business owner masterminding group. And the whole thing there was the guy who ran it, he used books as lead magnets.
Mm.
And his whole thing was, don't expect to make money out of your book. You use it as a lead magnet to bring clients in, to get people on your list. And then that's further down the funnel, that's where you make the money. Rightly or wrongly, that was his
Yeah.
viewpoint of it. And so that was the kind of way I thought about it, is I'm not expecting to make millions out of this. It did give me the warm fuzzies to have the printed book in my hands.
Doesn't it just?
Everyone got one of my books for Christmas. Yeah, it was, I think it could be a really good way to introduce people to your world, give massive value, and at the end of the day, get them on your email list,
Yeah.
because to me that's really quite important, because once you've got your email list, then that's where the sort of selling work starts to happen, if you like.
Yeah, for sure. And what I hear from how you've described your journey for both books is you've been really purposeful about why you've been writing them.
Yeah.
So that, and I often say this, that when it comes to purpose of publishing, it is absolutely okay to have a service-based purpose and an altruistic one. So to say, you've created these books that serve your audience, that can be either introductions or accompaniments to work with you, and it's a way to bring people into your world and to generate income. It's the head and the heart part of the business process,
Yeah,
isn't it?
absolutely. And I would also use them as part of a shock and awe package.
Oh,
So
tell us what a shock and awe package is. I
Oh,
love
lush
that.
war package. It's awesome. Back in the day, if you signed up for a sort of fairly high ticket coaching program, if they were doing it, I won't tell they use the word properly, but if they were doing it properly, you would get unexpectedly through the post a large package full of things like a DVD pack or a CD pack, because we're going
Back
back.
in the day.
Oh my God. And it would just hammer home that you've made the right decision and you had all this support and all this sort of stuff. And so I thought that's a fairly good idea. I quite like that. So when people sign up to my one-to-one program, empowerment program, which is, it's not high ticket, but it's kind of up there. They would get a book, both my books, they get a mug, it's just something you can send out to people unexpectedly. So like, so shock and awe.
Oh, I love that.
You're there investing something in you. It feels only right to send something back. I mean, yes, you're going to help them get the transformation or whatever it is they want, but something a bit more than that.
Yeah.
I just think is quite nice.
Yeah,
So
I
I
think that's a
I
lovely
would
touch.
always have some books here, so I could just whack them into a package with some other stuff and send them out.
Amazing.
Yeah, I just quite like that.
Oh, I really love that. I'm gonna ponder that.
Also, from a less altruistic point of view, it hammers home your authority.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the other thing that I sort of wanted to touch on from what you've been saying is around simplifying finding your team. So again, when we talk about publishing, particularly independent publishing, there are a lot of organisations that charge an awful lot of money to help people publish their books, and don't necessarily, although some do, provide, like you say, things like categories and keywords and kind of all of the kind of bells and whistles behind the scenes. But what you've done again here is just gone, this is how I need to get this book into the world. This is the easiest route to market. And then gone and found those people and simplified the process, and almost, I don't want to say not worried about it in a not thoughtful way. It's almost the opposite, isn't it? You've gone, what's important about this book, and then made those decisions. So what did you learn through that process that you think will be useful for people to hear?
I think we're very good as human beings. We are superstars at complicating. And I think that is exacerbated by the fact we also have this kind of worry about what people will think. So very often the way we complicate stuff is not because we're being bad or stupid. It's because there is a little part of us going, I don't want this out there. Because if this is out there, people will see it and then I'll get visible. And some people seem to have a real thing about that for some various some very good reasons based on what they went through in their childhood, where visibility perhaps wasn't safe. And so we have a tendency to overcomplicate things. I am including myself in this. Visibility is not a thing for me, but I overcomplicate in other areas. And you might call it overcomplication, you might call it procrastination, but the more barriers we can unconsciously put in our way, the longer it's going to take to achieve the thing, which weirdly is somehow keeping us safe. Possibly because I didn't really have any barriers to visibility, but also because I use EFT on the daily. So anything that is lurking that could trip me up, I tend to find and let release. I also work with a coach on that myself, because there are parts of you that you just can't get to because your subconscious won't allow it, because the whole point is to keep you safe, and it will let you poke a little bit, but then it goes no more. So if you work with someone else, they can get to the nitty-gritties that you can't get to. So I think the big thing is just notice where you might be overcomplicating.
Great advice.
And quite a cool question is, what am I trying to protect myself from by overcomplicating? If I didn't have to overcomplicate this, what would I do? And then do that.
Nice.
I don't
Sounds so simple when you say it like that, doesn't it?
I mean, to me, it was just a straight line from writing it to getting it on Amazon and doing it through Fiverr. I think I spent a grand total about maybe 150 quid to get it from me onto Amazon, which was worth it, rather than trying to work out Amazon KDP by myself. And like I said, it was really fast. Were there some mistakes in the book? Of course there were. Were there some spelling errors, some grammatical issues? Yeah, but that's okay. It's just out there.
People who will have heard me say before, the quickest way to find a typo is to press publish.
Yes. But that's also the beauty about having it on KDP, is because I just contact my chat and say, have you ever done this?
Change it. Absolutely. And I really love the fact that you have stressed that it doesn't have to be super expensive, because again, it's quite often a barrier to entry. So even if people decide they don't want to go with a hybrid publisher and spend tens of thousands of pounds on that type level of support, then finding professional editors and cover designers and formatters and all of the kind of team that you can choose to put around you can be quite daunting. And actually, again, you've gone, right, what I need is a cover and someone to put it on for me. And I'm going to pay for those things in the most cost-effective way possible and learn as I go and get the book into the world.
Read it, so if there are any mistakes, it's her fault. Actually, it reminds me, because I remember telling you, it was like, the first book was ages ago, and you said actually it's only 4 years ago. It was like, no, literally a million years ago, Helen. But I actually forgot, because I did networking as well, and I can remember having a chat with a lady who did book publishing. About, I was like, I've got an idea, I'm going to do a book. I'm just sort of finding out ways. I was just doing a little bit of research on how you could get a book out there and all that sort of stuff. And I can't remember what her prices were, but I think my sphincter probably grabbed my chair a little bit, and I was like, oh, okay. Because it's, at the time I'm a solopreneur. I'm not rolling in cash at that point, and I don't want to spend tens of thousands of pounds that I don't have on something that at the end of the day, in my mind, is a lead magnet.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that. And I was like, well, okay, so I don't have vast resources of cash. I don't really want to hang about. Let's just bootstrap it and get it out there.
Yeah.
Done is better than perfect, as they say.
Very much so. And as it's 4 years ago, is there another one on the horizon?
There will be. This is when I wrote my books. It was pre-ChatGPT. That's how old I am. I was alive before Google.
So what have you got in mind for future publications?
Well, I've kind of been right. I know last time we talked, I sounded very confident about this, but having done the whole, I'm just getting it out there. I have a program called Abundance Alchemy, which is, I guess, a group program. There's an online component, and there's a live sessions twice a month and an accountability call once a month. And I thought I could probably take the sections of the online modules and do something around those. Which, through various reasons I haven't got around to yet, I might be joining your...
If only there were a program that could help you unpick those things.
Want to help me with this, but just sort of, because I love reading. I love reading books that, especially sort of the sort of spiritual type, businessy type books, if that makes sense. And I've got a whole couple of bookcases with books on, plus the obligatory pile by my bed. And I do read, but I've noticed that with a couple of businesses, its time can be premium. So I thought I quite like finding a book that's quite thin.
Wow.
That has got some really good stuff inside. So I'm reading The Four Elements at the moment by Ruiz. And it's cool because it's really impactful. It hits all the spots. It gives massive value, but it's not, 563,000 pages.
Yeah.
So my thinking was maybe I could sort of create a book either per module or per 3 modules, because it's like I've got like a triangle model, and just break it down to be succinct as possible to give people value. Whilst leaving just enough to one side so they want to join Abundance Alchemy.
Yeah. But again, it's...
Look at balance.
Yeah.
Because you need to give people results. You need to help people achieve results. I think if you read a book and you put it down like, that was great, but I don't know what to do now. To me, it's not great. I've got some information, but how do I implement it? Because although I'm totally into the woo, I'm totally into spirituality, but I'm also immensely practical. I like to be able to implement stuff. So that's, for me, is like, the how to tap into your happy and the tapping scripts for entrepreneurs. They kind of channel that. They give some information because I think you need to know why you're doing what you're doing, but it also goes, here, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
So whatever book is in my horizon, or books, it's got to be that kind of balance of, it's going to give people actual things to do and how to do it and why they're doing it. And then I'm there in the background should they decide they want any more support on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting, isn't it? I remember when I first launched my coaching practice, and of course you do all of the challenges and you go to all of the webinars and read all of the stuff and And I remember something that sat with me. Someone said, you tell them what to do, but you don't tell them how to do it.
Yeah.
So it was almost like a cliffhanger in the content. And as somebody who has been a lifelong book nerd, I was like, I hate cliffhangers. Like, that would actually put me off. Like, I wouldn't so in a fiction series, for example, if there is a cliffhanger and there isn't a complete arc in book 1, I won't read book 2 because it will annoy me. So I'll put it aside. I'll be like, this person hasn't finished the story, so I don't want to know. And in non-fiction, if somebody has said they're going to teach me something and doesn't give me all the teaching, I'm like, well, you're not going to give me more just because I give you more money. You're still going to be an incomplete mentor, teacher. So that's not for me. So again, it's a misconception when we come to write. Tell people everything. I'm writing a book on resilience. Do you know how many books on resilience I've read? Probably about 50.
Yeah. That's very resilient of you.
It's very resilient. Also, I do like a lot of books. But also, to your point, having the person who you're writing for front and center is absolutely critical. We are living in an age where people are bombarded with content and just want things in small bite-sized sections so they can get on with their day. They don't want to read a 1,000-page academic tome unless they are the kind of person that enjoys reading a 1,000-page academic tome. So honing into that is absolutely key.
Yeah, and I think certainly in the sort of industry I'm in, things can vary wildly from just completely floaty and well, okay, but how kind of thing, to really sort of academic. I can remember having to, I can't remember so sorry to the author of this, Molecules of Emotion. Fascinating subject, and I read it as part of my training. I was doing a diploma in integrated energy techniques, and it was part of that. And I remember taking it on holiday and sitting by the pool, and I am not academically minded. I was asked to leave A-level physics because I was shit. I was consistent with my grade, and the grade was U, unmarked.
I hope your folder is okay with that.
It was a fascinating subject, and I learned a lot from the book, but it was hard. And if it hadn't been a recommended read for the course I was on, I would probably have abandoned it.
Yeah.
I'm glad I read it because it gave me some really useful information that I've used since. It's kind of that delicate balance. I don't like reading a dry book, so I don't want to write a dry book.
Yeah,
they talk a lot these days about edutainment, or where they combine education and entertainment on social media. So I think whatever you do, whatever you're writing, for me personally, I want to see your personality in it. I want to connect with the author through the words on the book. I used to be I still am a huge Terry Pratchett fan. I don't know if you've
I've read many Discworld books.
Right, and my other half, I've still got all the books and another bookcase downstairs. And my other half's going, "Are you going to read those again?" I was like, "Probably." He's like, "You don't read them? Let's throw them out." I'm like,
sacrilege.
Step away. But you really get, there's a message in there. It's entertaining. You can't. Once you get going, you've got to keep going. You can't really put it down. And he weaves in some really intense subjects, but in such a way that they kind of slip under the radar. You get the message without feeling preached at.
Yeah.
So that's I've no idea if my books have hit that, but that's the sort of thing that I like. So,
but we do absorb what we read, don't we? And this is the thing. And again, I always say that to new writers is there is no right or wrong in how you write. There's only right for you and right for your reader. Yeah. And if you are somebody that likes books, and most people who write a book like to read books in one way, shape or form, write the kind of book that you like to read. Because if you like to read Terry Pratchett, then, you're not going to necessarily enjoy the latest, I don't know, crime thriller.
Yeah.
If you like reading personal development books that are high energy and short and punchy, then maybe the academic tome isn't right for you. That's fine. There's not a better or worse. It's just different.
Yeah. There's no right or wrong. There's just your way. And what is your way is the way. To quote a famous series, "This is the way."
Love a famous quote. So Claire, you have been so generous. I've learnt loads about EFT that I didn't know anything about. So thank you, as well as all of the detail around your path to publication. Yeah, I feel educated today, which is wonderful. So let's close by telling everyone where they can find you and your books online.
Absolutely. So my website is imaginatively entitled claireturnereft.com. I am probably more on Instagram than anywhere else these days, which is also imaginatively entitled at Claire Turner EFT UK. It's spotting a theme here.
Yes.
If people want to experience some EFT, as in like tap along videos, you can also head over to my YouTube channel, which is, can you guess, Claire Turner EFT.
Oh, very good.
Or people can just reach out on email if they want, info@claire-turner.com. That's the EFT out of that one. On the website, I've changed my website recently. So I don't remember if I've still got a link to my books up there. But if people want a free copy of either one of my books, they just pay postage and packaging. Give me a shout via email if it's not on my website anymore, because I've pivoted a little bit since my original website. But yeah, just drop me an email, drop me a DM, and I'll send one out.
That's really generous.
Well, obviously you can go on Amazon and I'll get the royalties.
Yeah, we support you. Absolutely.
A whole 5.
Oh, I wish we had time to talk about royalties, but we're way over already. Claire, thank you so much. That's been an absolute hoot, and you've been so generous with all of your experiences. So I really appreciate your time.
Cheers. Thank you, Helen.
Bye. Well, that was absolutely fascinating. If you're new to EFT like I was, I hope you learned as much as I did. And if money has been a barrier to publishing entry for you, I hope Claire's no-nonsense, simplifying approach has inspired you. Next time, I'm joined by Sue Finch, and we'll be talking all about her book, Welcome to the Museum of Life. I'll see you for the next chapter. Thank you for joining me today. You can get the show notes and your free guide to publishing options at coachwhite.co.uk. Remember to subscribe and leave a review on your podcatcher of choice. Your words can make a difference. A review can too. If you'd like to connect, find me on LinkedIn, O'Neill, Helen, that's O'Neill, ONEILL, or on Instagram at coach_right. I'll see you for the next chapter of Coach White.